Welcome to the ThunderCast, your martial athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans, with your hosts, Russ Livingood and KD Hudnall. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week, so keep it right here. The ThunderCast is on the loose.
Welcome back to another episode of the ThunderCast. I am joined by Jed. As you know, these last couple of times, Jed and I have been handling the 5 things every herd fan needs to know this week. As always, sponsored by Ignite Link, and taking you around the herd with the results from the previous week and what's coming up on tap for all martial athletics this week. And that is sponsored by Layer 1 Solutions. Jed just happens to be the CEO of Layer 1 Solutions as well as Ignite Link. And most of you guys are familiar with him, but if not, I'll give you Jed.
I'm here. I'm Jed. Good to be here, Russ.
Jed, I always like to try to replicate a little bit of what KD says, and you can find us over on Twitter at ThunderCast_pod. KD does an amazing job interacting with people, posting all day, every day over there. I am not as active as he is. He runs that account. I do my own personal account. But you can find Jed at Jed Horton and me at Russ Livingood over on Twitter as well. Make sure to bookmark and follow us over on ThunderCast.Online, where we have our transfer portal tracker for the football team, showing you all the transactions of who left, where they went, and who's coming in, where they came from. We have articles over there as well, and kind of cool stuff over there, like if you're visiting from out of town and things like that. We got a lot over on our website.
It's a really good resource, Russ. And, I know KD makes the pitch every once in a while. You make the pitch every once in a while. So I'm going to make the pitch for you guys today. Like, share, subscribe, spread the word. There's a lot of good content. Russ and KD work really hard on, podcasting every week, keeping up with the transfer portal. I mean, that's a huge resource. Share that with your friends. And help us grow the podcast and get these free resources out to herd fans.
Absolutely. And this sort of thing couldn't be free. We're also giving away tickets. I'm trying to do that right now. We couldn't do these things if it wasn't for our sponsors, just like you with the segments that we talked about that we'll be covering today, but also the overall show sponsor. And I'm going to give them a shout out right now. If you've been hurt in a wreck, call the law firm of Leasure Oliver PLLC. Find them at 304carwreck.com. Jed, right now it's icy. The roads are dangerous. It's slick. No doubt there have been accidents. Anyone listening, watching, make sure to go to 304carwreck.com. I promise you do not want to deal with the insurance adjusters yourself, even if it is your own insurance agency. Unfortunately, I have been down that road, and I sure was glad that I got 304carwreck.com involved early in the process. And that is not just a commercial, that is a testimony. I've been in, unfortunately, a couple of bad accidents, and I was very glad that I got legal representation because the insurance company did not have my best interests in mind. They had theirs. So make sure you get with 304carwreck.com and let them navigate what's already an unfortunate situation for you. All right, Jed, it's been a couple of weeks since you and I have sat behind these cameras and or in front of these cameras, and there's been a lot of stuff happening, even though it was the holidays and things like that. Later, we're going to go around the herd and go over everything that's gone on since then. But before I do that, we're going to start with our usual 5 things every herd fan needs to know this week. But just like I always surprise you, I've got a little bit of a bonus. So here are 7 things every herd fan needs to know this week, brought to you by Ignite Link, the Tri-State's premier IT management team. Number one, just earlier today, the Sun Belt Conference football cross-division matchups have been announced. Texas State will come to Huntington to face Marshall, and then we will travel to Lafayette, Louisiana in a rematch of the SBC championship from just a month ago to face Louisiana. Thoughts on those?
Yeah, so I like the Louisiana matchup. I think it's good just to see them again. It was great to really hand it to them in the championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I like that matchup. It's I wouldn't call it a rivalry, but there's definitely now we've traded some blows, and I think we kind of got our revenge, so to speak, during the championship. Twitter is all a buzz of a missed opportunity, and I would be remiss to not mention that.
Okay.
It would have been kind of interesting to have a return trip from Southern Miss to come here. I know there was a little bit of banter back and forth on Twitter. I won't go too deep into it, but I like Texas State. I don't think we've played them.
Never have played. We've played Louisiana 3 times, and one was in the bowl game in 21. Then they came here for a midweek game in 22, and then of course the championship game that we just played a month ago. Texas State, we've never played. We haven't played them there. They haven't played us here, and that was the only cross-division matchup left that we had not played. Just to tell everybody kind of how the Sun Belt is doing this, here's why Southern Miss was not on the table, and it won't be on the table unless we meet them in the championship game. They go to the championship from the West. We go to the championship from the East. The Sun Belt doesn't just sit back and say, who would be a good matchup this year? They just do a rotation. So we have played 6 teams in the 3 years from the West, and all that was left was Texas State. So it was a matter of, will Texas State be playing at Marshall, or will we be playing at Texas State? It ended up they were coming here, and that left it left no one. It was Louisiana, because Louisiana and Troy are the ones from 22 that is now the longest in the rotation that we have played. We've played everyone else there more recently.
Yeah, because they came during that midweek game.
They came during the midweek game, and that was right when Henry Colombi came back in for one throw after halftime and had gotten injured through the interception.
So
we ended up
delayed, wasn't it?
Yeah, halftime may have been delayed a little bit. I do know the weather was not very good, and that was the week right before we went to James Madison on the road, and Cam Fancher was starting for the first time. So I was really looking forward to going to Texas State. I wanted to go to San Marcos, and selfishly, I wanted to go down there. I've got dear friends of mine moved down there in 2013 from Huntington, and I've been itching for a reason to go. Things have never lined up, and I had been eyeing last year and then now this year, always eagerly awaiting to see if we were going to have them on the schedule. I knew we were going to have them on the schedule this year. I just thought, man, this will be the year. It's going to be at San Marcos. Ended up not being that way. So I'm just going to back up and punt, and I'm going to Lafayette. I've not been down there. I've missed out. I couldn't go. Schedule just really screwed me for being able to go to the conference championship game. Just could not do it. Had to be back here the next morning early. It just wasn't going to work out. So now I'll get to make my first trip down there. I don't know if you're eyeing any road games or anything like that, but that's mine. I'm definitely eyeing that as a West team to go see.
Yeah, I haven't determined if I was going to, I've not had the opportunity really to go often to some away games. I do have a long story. I won't share it here, but I've got a buddy down in who's a big Georgia fan. Mm-hmm. So the plan is to go to that game. So I am planning on going to Athens, attending that game. As far as in-conference away games, I haven't determined yet, but I'd like to start hitting some up because I think there's a lot of interest. I'd like to see not just the stadiums and the schools, but the towns. That's always a unique experience to be able to go out of town and see our in-conference foes. So Not so sure about that yet, but Georgia's definitely on the plate unless something comes up.
Yeah, I'm planning to go to Georgia. I hope to go back to Boone and hope to go back to Coastal this year. And we have Georgia State down near Atlanta. We will be playing them this year, and we end up with 7 home games. So that's already a step up. If somebody can go to 7 home games and then they hit a couple of away games, hey, you're going to 9 games this year. But anyway, that schedule's out. Only other thing that I want to say, and then I'll flip it to you if you got any comments on it, is Louisiana finished first and Texas State finished second in the West last year. Depending on if they return, enough talent to get back there, that kind of works in our favor as far as strength of schedule. Georgia is going to be high up on the strength of schedule. It could help us if we have a special year and we ended up winning the Sun Belt Conference. That could help by playing such a strong conference schedule and what we've got with Georgia in our non-conference. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, right. No, the key is you gotta win games first and foremost, but you also got to play good competition. And not that we didn't play good competition this year. I think we, let's say you beat Virginia Tech. What happens at Ohio State happens, and then you run the table. I think we're in the conversation. But if you look at the teams we played and their winning percentages and their ranks and things like that, for schools like Marshall, we have to, we want to win and have that good, that good record, but it's even more important at our level that we've got those quality wins. And as hard as playing Louisiana and Texas State might be, I'm good with that. Because you have a special year, you play well. The teams, the majority of the teams you beat have winning percentages. That's just going to increase the probability of a higher rank and a chance at the CFP, which is what we'd all love to see as fans.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think a bowl game and a conference championship is what we all want every year. But it sure would be nice to get into those playoffs, and the deck is stacked against just about everybody from the G5, but it's nice to play a pretty beefed up cross division schedule here. That might help a little bit. All right, number 2. This is a little bit of old news now, but in case you missed it, Lineker Rodriguez dos Santos, Takahiro Fujita, and Alexander Vukovic were all drafted in the MLS Super Draft. Lineker was drafted in the first round, 29th overall. And that was by Real Salt Lake. Fujita was in the 3rd round, 27th selection by Orlando City, and also to Real Salt Lake. Just 2 selections later, Vukovic goes. So 3 players from this team drafted in the MLS Super Draft. Thoughts on that and what it does for our program in the eyes of everyone across the country?
Well, it's just like in football. So I've seen a lot of people on social media and things like that. It's, I've seen the comments over and over. I don't understand soccer, but I'm glad we're winning. Yeah. And so it's good to kind of bring it into terms that new fans to the soccer program would understand is, when you've got players consistently getting drafted into the NFL from our football team, that is used for one, that means the quality of players that we're bringing in. For 2, that helps in recruiting, saying that, hey, you come play for Marshall, you can play at the next level.
That's right.
And so same thing with soccer. So these guys getting drafted into the MLS, that's just another, arrow in the quiver, of Chris Grassy when he goes and recruits. You come to Marshall, we're a consistently top tier program. We're competing for national championships. And, oh, by the way, you have a chance to go pro, and you can go pro here. So I think that just speaks to the program, Chris Grassy, everything that we've done here. That's just going to keep feeding and fueling the fire for men's soccer.
And MLS being the biggest professional in America, biggest professional league, and you got a 1st rounder and 2 3rd rounders, 2 of them going to the same team. I don't think seems like we've had someone out at Real Salt Lake here very recently. I don't know if they're still on the team, but from Marshall, it seems like they signed someone over the last couple of years, but I don't have that in front of me, so I'm not going to guess. Keeping it with soccer for number 3, Top Drawer Soccer named a couple of Herb players to its best 11 teams. Taimu Okiyoshi received first team honors. Lineker Rodriguez dos Santos made it to the second team. More of what we just talked about there. You see those lists, all these players in college see those lists, and Marshall is becoming a name now, consistently having players getting these accolades. Just what you said. It makes people want to come here. It makes people want to follow the program, and it's just great publicity all around, but also a huge, huge recruiting tool.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, those are names that we heard all season long, getting, not just receiving accolades, but just even during the games and the tournament, being impact players for our team. So, once again, we've said this before, all the accolades, let's throw as many as we can on these players. They're, for one, well-deserved, and for two, again, speaks to the program and what we're building here at Marshall.
Yeah, it seems like we're right on the cusp of being thought of as a blue blood, and maybe it hasn't been enough years have passed or anything like that. But you just start stacking up everything that we have. The other teams, we are on a very short list since that 2020 season of performing and getting to at least this level, getting to at least the Elite Eight, the Sweet 16. I know those are not the terms, but the final 16 teams, final 8 teams, and then making it to the College Cup twice, national championship, making it there twice. We are now just stacking the accolades and being thought of as a blue blood. Number 4, Jed, you've got girls. I've got girls. There's a lot of people watching and listening here that's got girls. Registration for the 26th annual Sweetheart Clinic by Marshall Athletics will begin on Monday, January 13th at 10 a.m. And that goes quick. The spots fill up quick. I urge anyone on here that wants to take their girls, let them be there. All the different programs, the women's programs here at Marshall, they do an amazing job year after year of taking your daughters or your nieces or your granddaughters and putting on this clinic and just making a day of it. And I urge anyone that is looking forward to doing that around the Valentine's Day weekend that you register on Monday, January 13th at 10 a.m.
Where can they register for that, Russ?
Herdzone.com. They've got a link up right now on herdzone.com to the article, and in that article, I believe it says where you can register. But when it gets closer to Monday morning, you will want to be on Herdzone and be ready to do so. If that is, if they're not going to have a specific link that they put out that morning, we will definitely be putting it out on social. So make sure to check Facebook for us, Twitter for us, but also the main Marshall Athletics accounts for both of those. It's at Herd Zone over on Twitter and Marshall University Athletics on Facebook. Number 5, it's official. Mike Green has been added to the roster for the Reese's Senior Bowl. We have talked about this. He was on the watch list preseason, and everyone was saying, wait a minute, he's a redshirt sophomore. How are we going to do that? Well, last year they started allowing underclassmen, and famously Rasheen Ali from Marshall went last year to the Senior Bowl, as well as Ethan Driscoll was there. And this is our 3rd player in 2 years, but Mike Green is getting all the social media love right now. People are just finding out about him, and that's a shame. They should have found out about him preseason by listening to us. Tell everybody, you're going to want to watch Mike Green. But what do you think about Mike officially going to the Senior Bowl?
I think that's I'm not surprised. I don't think any Marshall fan that's followed football is surprised. I think that's great. I also think it's great, Russ, that you were able to survive threatening taking that Chick-fil-A from Mike.
Yeah, I think I could have got him.
My money would not have been on. My money would not have been on you. I'm
it
sorry.
would not, man. You and I were sitting right there, and he came in and he sat right next to us. And I was hungry. You were hungry. He sits down. He was hungry. But I'm kind of glad that I let that one go when he said, "You will not win." I was like, okay, that's fine.
He said that, and I was just like, it was going to be one of those scenarios where, if whatever went down, I was just, I'm not getting involved. I don't know this guy.
I felt like if we would have tangled over his Chick-fil-A sandwich, that it would have been kind of like those old movies or I don't know, comedy shows, sitcoms during the 80s where you see like they cut real quick and it's a dummy getting thrown halfway across the room. I feel like that's what I would have been the 6'3", 200-pound dummy just being flung across the room by Big Mike Green. But he and I had a great laugh over it, and he's a great guy. He's a great representative of Marshall, and I cannot wait for him to go and put his talents on display at the Senior Bowl because, hey, that's eyes back on us. You saw everything he has said about Marshall and him bleeding green. He's a great representative of us, and I cannot wait for him to go out there and show everybody what he can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he's going to, I don't think he's a complete unknown at this point, but I still think there's going to be some surprises from that bowl too.
Oh, definitely. There's going to be some people that go, who? But, I mean, man, if you don't know, now you know.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a couple more here. Number 6, Paige Batten named Swimmer of the Week for the Sunbelt Conference, and Grace Kelsheimer Diver of the Week, as the herd sweeps the Swim and Dive Awards in the SBC for the 5th time this season. That makes Kelsheimer's 5th award this season and Banton's 1st on the podium.
I correct me if I'm wrong, Russ, but I feel like we're swimming and dive has been killing it so far this season.
They have. It's unfortunate that this is the last year of swim and dive for the Sun Belt because I was eagerly awaiting other teams getting added and us really dominating this league. But we're going to go somewhere else where we can, try to dominate that league how we've been so far. I'm really looking forward to the Sunbelt Conference Championships with all the accolades that we've gotten on the weeks. It gives you some good expectation that we might be able to do some real damage there. But they have been killing it. Kelsheimer, I don't know that. I just don't see anybody else being the diver of the year when she's got 5 of the weeks, and they haven't had one every week of the season because sometimes the teams have just been off, right? Mm-hmm. This one is for the previous back before Christmas. It was the week of leading up to Christmas is what these awards are for. And we're going to talk about what they're going to do. They've got some upcoming meets, and we're going to talk about those. But they've been off for a little while, almost a month. But just killing it. And finally, number 7. This just came out late this afternoon, but J.J. Roberts has accepted an invitation to the 79th Hula Bowl. So you've got Green going to the Senior Bowl, and J.J. Roberts going to the Hula Bowl. I tell you, J.J., with his representation, such an amazing person, such an amazing family, great on the field, great off the field. Him going there, I feel like he is going to really open some eyes as well.
Yeah, I think he can really make some noise. Having seen him for the last 2 years play for the herd,
mm-hmm.
As mentioned before, he's got a nose for the football.
Yeah.
And he knows where it's going to be. And how many times has he come up and he's been involved in those plays, making those stops, batting those balls.
It's the big plays. It's not just a play and it was he quietly had 8 tackles. No, he had 8 huge tackles, preventing first downs, flipping the ball over back into, getting the turnover on downs, that huge special teams blocked kick that he had. It's just everything he does. He was the highest for the longest time graded out safety by PFF in college football.
Mhm.
And he led in passes defended for the longest time in college football at the safety position. I think he had 91 tackles or something like this. A ridiculous number of tackles that he had this year. You said it, nose for the football. He's a football guy, but he's also a great guy, great family. And I can't wait for him, the same that I'm pumped up for Mike. I can't wait for people, scouts, people watching at home, everybody getting to see a little bit of JJ Roberts as well.
Yeah, well deserved for him. I'm glad he gets that opportunity, and yeah, he's gonna turn some heads, I think.
Yeah. Well, Jed, that wraps us up for yet another This Week 7 Things Every Herd Fan Needs to Know this week. And as always, brought to you by Ignite Link. All right, so we're now going to take you around the herd, but who's going to take us there? Layer 1 Solutions, your experts in business connectivity infrastructure, takes you around the herd. Jed, we are going to start off with Swim and Dive, who we just talked about. You can watch them probably on ESPN Plus. It should be up on there. They usually are. Friday, 5 p.m., they will be at Toledo. And then the very next morning, they're going to be at Bowling Green. So making a little swing through the old MAC territory with 2 beats. Let's see what the swimmers and divers can do. They've been putting up records this year. They've been getting all these of the week accolades. Tune in, watch them, even though it's away. Maybe set some new records and get some first place wins so they can get a couple more of the weeks. Also, track and field is starting back up. The Marshall Alumni Classic will be at the Chris Klein Indoor on Saturday, and that's at 1 p.m. So if you are here in town, Marshall basketball, men's basketball, is going to play at 4. We're going to talk about them here in a minute. Right before that, you can be across the street at the Chris Klein Indoor and watch first track and field event of the spring semester. All right. The only 2 teams of Marshall that has played in the last couple of weeks since you and I have been waiting to do this show is our basketball team. So we're going to start off with women's basketball. They beat Davis and Elkin 77-38 to end the non-conference schedule, but they started 0-3 in the Sun Belt Conference with losses to Texas State 60-49, Arkansas State 66-56, and Troy 80-69. They are on the road against James Madison tonight, just here in about 45 minutes as you and I record. 7 p.m. You can watch that on ESPN Plus. And then Saturday they will be at Old Dominion at 2 p.m. also on ESPN Plus. And then finally you'll have your next chance to see them at home. That will be Wednesday of next week at 6 p.m. as they host JMU. All right, let's talk about women's basketball. This is not the start that we thought that we would see, both to the season overall and also to the conference. So I got a little bit of stats here. They're 5-9 overall, 0-3 in Sun Belt Conference, scoring 68.9 points per game overall, only 58 points per game in the 3 Sun Belt Conference matchups. So their final 3 games, they're scoring 58 points a game. Shooting is 38.2% from the field, 67% from the line, and 32.3% from behind the arc. 39 rebounds a game, 13.6 assists a game, 9.1 steals a game, 2.6 blocks a game, and 16.8 turnovers a game. Jed, the majority of their points are coming from 4 perimeter players. They're being out-rebounded, but not being outshot or much of anything else. Of course, that is counting the overall games, and in our non-conference, we've had a couple of lower-level opponents kind of boosting those up. But hearing those stats, hearing that record, what are your thoughts so far on this women's basketball program?
Yeah, we're not, like you mentioned, not the start that we wanted. It's almost like we're living and dying by the three. I think that's the first thing that comes out. I've watched a few of the games. There's a lot of just, and this is just from me watching. Sometimes it goes quarter by quarter. They have quarters where, what was the last game I watched? I think it was the most recent one. They were up on, who was it? Texas. Texas
was that
State.
Troy?
Might have been Troy. There was a couple teams that they've played where they just shot out to a pretty big lead, like in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And then it kind of seems to fall apart a little bit. We've got talent. We definitely have some talent. I think we, especially in the Sun Belt, I think we can match up pretty well with most teams in the Sun Belt. I've not seen us be able to put together a complete game. Just kind of in layman's term, I just haven't seen a complete 4 quarters of, that basketball that gets played in spurts during those games, and unfortunately, we're getting beat because of it.
Yeah, so you mentioned living and dying by the three. We have attempted 433s this year, and overall field goals, which include threes, is 844 that we've attempted. So more than half of our shots have been threes. Do you think that's too many? I know you're not a coach. You're just giving the fans perspective, but based on what you've seen, do you think that's too many? What do you think?
Again, I just from what I've watched, I think some of those tend to be forced. Sometimes it looks like that, they're not always good looks. When they do get good looks, you've got players that are sharpshooters. But when you're just jacking up threes constantly and not working the ball inside, that defense is going to spread out. And that's what I've seen. That defense is going to spread out on us, try to prevent those threes. And where we're not getting that interior penetration, you're having more difficult time getting those threes up. These are the games that I've watched.
Yeah.
I can't speak for the games I haven't, but that's kind of what it feels like is when we get the hot hand, we're feasting. But when we're not, we have a very hard time getting that ball to the interior to get a layup, a short shot.
Yeah.
Type situation, at least from what I've seen.
And you've seen what those stats that I read off, just exactly what you're saying. Our perimeter players are leading in scoring and not as much down in the post. You and I both agreed, though, off camera, we've talked about this, not just recently, but neither one of us are in panic mode. This is a season this is Coach Fulks's first year. It's coming off of an improbable season that may never be duplicated again. A coach comes in for their only season. They implement this crazy, to most people, full court press, full hockey line in and out.
Right.
It was different. Would it work? We started off 2-4, kind of the same this year. We started off 1-4, and they just caught magic. And I don't know that you can expect to catch magic or lightning in a bottle or whatever cliche phrase you want to throw out. It's lightning in a bottle for a reason. It's special for a reason, right? And I think that we got spoiled a little bit, with women's basketball. The crowds were huge at the end. I think this is just one of those things that Coach Fulks is going to get them on the right path, and things will turn around. You can see it there. Like you said, they just haven't all put it together.
Well, first year head coach too. Like you said, that's really what made last year kind of special. Was you throw a wrench into the Sun Belt none of those teams have ever seen, with a style of play. But that's not normal for first-year head coaches. I mean, there's a lot to figure out, just from the day-to-day, how you're going to run practices, how these class schedules work out, there's differences when you come into a university. So, first-year head coaches, I mean, sometimes you can catch that lightning in a bottle, but, there's a learning curve here. So, I'm not overly confident that we're going to come out of the slump. Just to be honest,
Sure.
I think we're gonna win games.
Yeah.
I think we'll be competitive in all the games that we play. We may end the season kind of at that 500 level. And for a first-year head coach, that's okay. I don't think we're at the point where we're, we should be screaming and yelling and
no need to panic. We just need to let them figure it out a little bit, and make the tournament and see what happens in the Sun Belt Conference tournament. But until then, if they shoot a little bit better, you see some drastically different games here. When you're losing by 10 in the conference and just 3 of those shots fall, then it's a drastically different game, right? So shots fall a little bit better. We're getting out rebounded, did I say out rebounded or outshot? Let's see here. Yeah, we're getting out rebounded. It's not by much, but we improve our post play a little bit. On the rebounds, gives us another chance. If you're shooting 32% and you're losing by 10, you just need to shoot a little bit more, and you've tied it up. So you get some more rebounds, you can throw it out there. You increase that up to about 35%, and over a few games, that's going to make a difference. So, I mean, shots fall here and there, a couple of turnovers prevented here and there. Right now, it's definitely not the start that anybody wanted or expected, but I'm not in panic mode, and like you said, you're not either.
No reason to be.
Let's talk about men's basketball. They lost 68-66 at Southern Miss right before the holidays. Then they beat Elon on the road 73-59, beat Texas State 77-71, lost to Troy 58-57 in an absolute heartbreaker. They as well are hosting James Madison tonight here in about 30 minutes, and then they will be hosting Georgia Southern on Saturday at 4 p.m., like I mentioned earlier.
There's one correction, Russ, is we lost to Elon.
We lost to Elon 7. I've got that written down. I've got that written down wrong on here. All right, so my bad on that. And as I've never said on here before, that's the only mistake I'm ever going to make on this show.
Never make another one.
I just transposed the score on there, and I mean, I watched that game every second of the game, but it's been so long now. I guess I just read my notes instead. Here's their record. They're 8-8 overall, 1-2 in the Sun Belt Conference. They're scoring 74.9 points per game overall, 66.7 in those 3 Sun Belt Conference matchups. Their shooting is 43.9% from the floor, 67.4 from the line, and 28.1 from behind the arc, giving up more three-pointers and at a higher percentage, though it's not a huge difference. The opponents are shooting 31.5% from behind the arc against them. We're getting more rebounds, 37 a game, more assists, 14.3 points or assists per game, more steals, 7.9 per game, and we've got less turnovers than our opponents, 12.3 a game. These are the overall stats. Again, not strictly conference play, but to me, this boils down to shooting, and specifically from behind the arc. You'd like to see us shooting better than 43.9%, but when you look across the league, it's not like everybody's shooting, 50%. They're in the 40s there somewhere. It's that 3-point mark because we're out rebounding our opponents. We're creating more turnovers than we commit. We're getting more assists than our opponents. We're out rebounding, more steals, everything And we have now lost 2 conference games by a total of 3 points. Had a 2-point loss and a 1-point loss. So I'm not panicking here either. I know, a lot of people online are talking about different things, but a couple of different things bounce the different way, and we're talking about possibly a 3-0 start to the conference.
Yeah, we've not up until this point. Yeah, we have not been blown out really by any of our conference foes, which is that's a good sign. I think this league is going to be pretty even for the most part throughout the league. Do you have the free throw percentage?
Yeah, 67.4.
Okay. Yeah. See, I noticed that. That's kind of I notice things in my, when I watch games, and that's one that needs to go up too, because I think there's been a few games where we missed some critical free throws that would have assisted us there as well. So all that to say, we're within spitting distance. So I'm not too worried yet. I think we still have an opportunity to end the year on the plus side on the win column when it comes to conference play. It's just I think there's some tweaks that need to be made.
Yeah, let's talk about that Troy game, 58-57. And here getting the box score up, and you go to free throws. They were, let's see, Troy was 13 of 17. We were 10 of 17. We lost by 1 point.
Yeah, I watched that game, and that was one of the things that stuck out. Yes, that's a 58.8% free throw percentage. Yeah. I mean, you're missing almost half your free throws.
We were 3 of 16 from 3-point land. You hit 1 3, it's over. Yeah. But you make a couple of foul shots, it's over. And that's the sort of thing that's killing us right now. It's just the shooting. And that could be shot selection. It could be just, need to have better results. Dawson looks really good from behind the arc at times. There's all kinds of people that look like they're shooting well. And then at times they're not, they just kind of go cold. But right there, that was one of those games. I'm going to get back over to the Southern Miss game where we lost by 2 in conference. And we're going to talk free throws on that. That one's been a long time back, and I can't remember until I look here. But the Southern Miss, yeah, that's what I remember. Southern Miss went 12 of 21, and we went 8 of 18. Both teams just could not put each other away when they had the chances down the stretch hitting free throws. But 8 of 18, and you lose by 2. As KD says on here all the time, woof.
Yeah.
We just got to shoot better, But again, 8-8 overall, 1-2 in conference, could be 3-0 in conference with a little bit of better luck. Not taking up for anybody, but not abandoning ship either. We just got to hit some shots, and hopefully we can do a better job for the rest of the way in the conference.
Yeah, I agree. And looking at some of these other stats, I mean, there's definitely some parity here as it concerns, like look at Southern Miss game's example, rebounds, turnovers, shooting percentages. I mean, our field goal percentage was great, but our free throw and our free throw shooting is what killed us. So it comes back down to, like I said, I think some tweaks. I think we've definitely seen an increase in our defense. I know that's something that Coach had talked about improving on was our defense. I think that has taken a tick up. Now it's just, can we give ourselves some more opportunities and then, put in the kill shot when we get those chances to shoot a 3. We get, those free throws from the, when the clock stopped, making sure that we're putting those in. You've got to, you do a few more things right. We're going to be on that win side of the column for, I would say for a good chunk of these games if we can put those pieces together.
we're kind of down in the Sun Belt Conference this year, and a lot of that was non-conference. We're not beating up on each other just yet. We've only had a handful of games, but during the non-conference, pretty much everybody out on the social media world that we interact with has been talking about the Sun Belt Conference basketball teams just being down a little bit this year. So listen to this. I've got this is, again, overall, it's not just against each other in the conference. Arkansas State leads with 79.3 points per game. Then you got Texas State 75.5, South Alabama 75.1, and then Marshall right behind them 74.9. So we're right there. No one is just blowing everybody out of the water. 4th out of 14 in scoring. Field goals made per game, 26.3. That is right up there too. The leader has 26.9. 3-point percentage, 43 field goal percentage, 43.9. The leader has 47.2. That's Texas State. Everybody else is in that 44 and below. 40. There's one couple 45s there. 3-point percentage, we are dead last, 28.1, and the leader, it looks like, has 35. There's a 35.9, 35.8. Oh, there's a 36.9. But again, we're at 28.1, and then Troy is second to last at 28.6. Everybody else is up there in the ODU's also at 28.6, but most of the people were up there close to that 33% mark. We hit some more threes and we win some more games. All of a sudden, we look really, really good. So, if our shooting improves, we still have a good chance.
Yeah, I agree. And we've seen, just like on the girls' side, we've seen some spurts of that. Dawson can get really hot and then he gets really cold.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other guys around the perimeter too have shown spurts of that as well. So we've got shooters. Let's make a few more of those, bump the percentage up, and we'll be all right. So I'm with you, Russ. I'm not in panic mode yet. As far as the Sun Belt, I think the Sun Belt is all together. I would agree with the sentiment online. I think the Sun Belt is a little bit down this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have an opportunity to be competitive where, well, we already are competitive. We're just not on the win side of the bracket. So make some changes. And I think we've got an opportunity to end the year with, maybe a little run in the Sun Belt tournament.
Yeah. And we are by no means shooting the most 3-pointers attempted either. We're kind of middle of the pack or just above middle. But there's a lot of teams chucking it up there. So it's not just us. We're just shooting worse as a percentage than just about everybody from behind the arc. Free throws, I just switched over to that percentage. We are 10th out of 14. The front runner, Texas State, 76.9. We're down there at 67.4%. So
free throws and threes.
Yeah.
Really, this is boiling down to.
Just need to shoot better. You could be looking at instead of 8-8, you could be looking at I don't know, maybe at least 2 wins. We just highlighted 2, but 10-6 looks a lot better than 8-8, and 3-0 definitely looks a lot better than 1-2 in conference. But again, shoot a little bit better, have a little bit better return on investment for the shots you take, and might come up with a couple more wins. Well, Jed, that does it for Around the Herd, thanks to Layer 1 Solutions. And that kind of wraps up our show, unless you got anything. You got anything you want to shout out to anybody?
No, other than just, again, like, I'll just read it what I said earlier. For Herd fans out there, like, subscribe, and share. Russ and KD put a lot of time into this, and so this is for free, provided for free, with some great sponsors that help sponsor it, for the ticket giveaways and some of the other things. But they do this, they don't get paid for this. And so they do this because they are Marshall fans. So I'm not an outsider, but since the show wasn't started by me, I feel like I'm enough of an outsider that I can say that, these guys really do work hard. So I'd like to see you guys share and, subscribe and tell your friends. And because I know there's still people I've talked to that are Marshall fans that I've told about the podcast that didn't know it was a thing. So I'll just reiterate that they'd be doing us a big favor by doing that.
Well, I appreciate it, and you shouldn't consider yourself an outsider because you're as much a part of the ThunderCast now as I am. With all that you do with sponsoring, with the production of ThunderCast Live, powered by Ignite Link, our tailgate show, and our other, every now and then we show up at other things with that ThunderCast Live. And then now you're on here once a week with me doing this while KD and I do the other part. But always good to have you on here, Jed, and appreciate the words. And yes, you can find us and subscribe to us over on YouTube. You can bookmark us at ThunderCast.Online, and you can follow KD and all of the information that he puts out daily in the interactions that he does on Twitter at ThunderCast_pod. But also, whether you see us at the Joan, whether you see us at the Jack, or whether you see us at the Cam this weekend, no matter where you see us, we're going to be saying, go Herd. It's the ThunderCast. We'll see you soon.